Episode 28, guys. Oh, I'm so excited. I love it. Man, I've looked ahead at this month. We've got so many great creators happening. Oh dude, I mean, tonight my boy James Roche is here. We're gonna or it could be Roche. I actually didn't ask him. Shit, I'm gonna find out as soon as he comes in. But yeah, man, we've got so much good stuff coming. Lots of great people happening. Oh, checking something out. Oh, it's okay. He did tell me it's Roach. That's awesome. He found the private chat. That's great. James Roach is here. We're gonna have a really good show. So excited, man. Love hanging out with you guys. Please make them feel extra special today as we go through this and have a good time. Let's get this all set up. All right, so I can see exactly the kind of shit that you guys are going to be saying to us because I know how you guys love to have fun. I mean, at my expense, at your expense, at all of our expenses. There we go. The comments are coming in. There we go. Brian Manell's here. Dude, I'm excited for some questions tonight. Harrison, what's going on, homie? You're on next week, my man. Guys, check this dude out. He's a leather worker. So that's something we're gonna be talking about next week. Very excited about that. And how does a leather worker get tangled up in this comics world? Next week we will definitely discuss that. Girl, what's up? Oh, I'm sexy. No, you are sexy. You were talking to Wendell? That's great. Okay, cool. We've got some people coming in. This is already flying. I'm feeling really good. Let's jump. Yeah, oh dude, I'm so excited too, man. All right, guys, let's jump straight into this. I'm so excited. Here we go, folks.
Canadian bacon is actually really good, and it's nothing like normal bacon, and it's better than ham, which you guys seem to call Canadian bacon. I'm very good at writing. I write very well. Yeah, it's Shop Talk.
Do some of your audience members like the word fuck? Cool. Then I'm going to keep saying fuck because I care.
What's going on, James?
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Wow, I saw the countdown up here. I thought that was going to go longer. That little intro clip, the Canadian bacon. I was about to blow my nose, and you kind of caught me right there.
You need me to give you a minute?
I think we could go, man. We can go.
All right, cool. Katrina's in saying hi to everybody. Mike,
What's
of
up,
course,
Katrina?
Mike, of course, is excited about the Canadian bacon. All right, so James, I know you from your really super cool book, Wretches, which I got to pick up back in the day, even before. I like to call myself old school because I got to get it straight from Kickstarter before before Scout got their talons in you.
Are you going back to issue 1 and 2? I think that was 20. Yep. Oh, so we're going back to 2016, maybe. That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You're a day one homie. I appreciate the support. That was. You know, I started back then, and you know, Kickstarter has been a awesome avenue, as you know, and I think a lot of creators know and owe their, I guess, quote unquote, career or their start in the industry to crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. So luckily, you know, we have that, and it helps get a lot of dope books made. So cool. I appreciate the shout out, man. Wretches 1 Kickstarter edition. I have that somewhere. It's a hot commodity. I saw those going on eBay at one point when Scout dropped the potential, how was it called? Like a shopping agreement for Wretches. There was some multimedia interest in the book, in the series. And then the issue 1 Kickstarter edition, I think was going on eBay for a couple hundred at one point, which is pretty crazy. Because when I did the Kickstarter campaign, I over-ordered. So maybe I shouldn't say that, because speculators are going to know. I mean, there were 2 printed. Chuck has one, and I have one.
I usually let people know ahead of time. This is how many I got done. This is what's happening. And I always like when I mean we'll get into other stuff, but when I do Kickstarter, I use it so that I have stuff to sell. So yes, I want to get it out to the people in Kickstarter land. But I also want to do a big enough print run that I can hit shows and have something to sell and show off there.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why part. I can't remember the quantity I did for issue 1 and issue 2 pre-Scout. But yeah, I think that was definitely the idea going in. If we had maybe 200, 275, it's hitting my head. 275 backers for issue 1. I might have ordered 500, 400, something like that, to have a good chunk extra to sell at conventions. So that's good practice for sure.
Dude, that's badass. So why don't we let's this is how I usually do it. Why don't we start with your origin story? And the origin story for you is going to be, James, tell us a little bit about yourself, about how you got started enjoying comics, and then how you got into actually making comics.
Wow. Okay. So, enjoying comics. I read comics as a kid. I didn't read them a ton as a kid. I remember having a bad experience, to be honest, going into a shop. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I went into a shop, and I just remember getting flack. The owner was kind of an ass. I just have this vague memory. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and the guy was a real douche. But I remember grabbing, it was a Wolverine, and my parents or nobody I knew was into comics, but me. I was into video games, movies, cartoons, and all that good stuff, like all of us are. But I think I went in there trying to dip my toe into comics at that young age, and I ended up leaving because I was kind of rushed out, or just the guy didn't want to be bothered assisting me, which is not like any of the comic shop owners I know and have met today. Like, this guy was a real douchebag. I walked out with a Wolverine, and I think it was a Wolverine on the cover with Sauron. I think Sauron, the pterodactyl. What the hell is the name of the area? I'm drawing a blank here, but I think it was issue 7 of it was the middle of the run, whatever it was. So I opened it, and I was mid-story. I kind of had no idea what was going on. It was a total mess, and it was a bummer that I kind of halted there for a little while. And then I think I picked it up a lot more after high school, to be honest with you. And I wish I knew what the first thing I picked up was. It might have been either Lock and Key, and I just got sucked into that series because it's fantastic. And then it might have also been It's a great one too. It's about you might know. It's about a little girl who, I think her mother is sick, and she has I'll spoil it. She has cancer, or maybe somebody in the chat will know. And is it monsters? I kill monsters.
I Kill Giants or whatever it is?
I think it was I Kill Giants. Yes, I think it's I Kill Giants might have been something I picked up and kind of really touched me. My mother passed away years back from cancer at a young age. She was 40, early 40s. I remember reading that and kind of bawling my eyes out. And I was like, wow, this medium is fantastic, and you can do amazing things. Like, it's an action book, but at the same time, there's this subtle message hiding in the background, and that just those two things kind of just made me want to continue. Brian, to continue or to dive into writing comics. So those are kind of a little bit of the inspiration or the enjoyment, I guess, part of your question. When I first started writing comics, I think it was roughly, I don't know the year, but I think I first started writing short stories. Like, I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. I remember playing G.I. Joes for hours. The 4-inch figures, not the big dudes.
Yeah,
but the 4-inch. I had a whole collection. Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to say it, but so I had those 4-inch toys, and just playing with them, I probably had maybe 20 of those little guys, and I would separate them into teams. But just every day, I was literally in the basement, or I'd go to my grandparents' house and find different areas to stage a new story or a new scene or whatever the hell was going on in my mind. The imagination was building from that point on. So I think, and maybe you can, if you want to jump in or tell me what you think about it, I was trying to think where the seeds for, I guess, imagination or storytelling are planted in me, you, the other creators watching. I mean, I think it's obviously at a young age, but in my mind, I pinpointed to those or that type of moment, just playing with toys alone, going over stories in my brain.
It's funny, I think, and I've noticed this because, of course, I ask the same question every time. And I find that a lot of people, they were storytelling at a young age and they didn't know it. And so things like, I was a DM. and I was always GM when I was, running D&D scenarios and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, yeah, you were a storyteller. You know what I mean? And then, the people are talking about, I would write and draw my own little comics and all that kind of shit. What's going on, Allison? How you doing? And I mean, all these little things, or people would, create make-believe scenarios that they would play with their friends. And you're like, oh, you're the one who usually made this scenario? Yeah, again, you're a storyteller. And so it's just funny that I think a lot of us, it was there, we just didn't recognize it.
Yeah, 100%. I watch my kids now play either with each other or with the neighbors, and I feel like they're leading the charge in that my daughter will tell my son, hey, all right, now you say this. Now you come here and say this. And then my middle son will talk to my youngest son. He'll be like, come on, now you say this and you say that. And then the youngest guy's trying to get in on it. You say this. And then after a while of playing, they can only play for however long, half hour before they start, trying to kill each other. They're like, stop telling me to say this. I want to do that. And it goes to hell. But yeah, to your point, I think it's, some people it's just ingrained. It's just a natural thing that you're born with, I guess.
You can't say that or else you'll ruin the story, man. Yeah. The whole arc is set up by that line.
No, you don't have that power. You can't fly now.
Oh, yeah.
Son of a bitch.
You didn't kill that guy. We can't kill that guy off.
No, we need him.
I had this whole other story set up on that guy. He can't die yet. No, absolutely, dude. Yeah, no, that's funny. So when did you go? Because you know what? I hate this fucking thing where we go, like I'm professional when, something goes through Scout. No, you're professional when you make money off of it. You know what I mean? Like and I mean, I said money, not profit. Notice that.
It's good. So, I'm glad you made that distinction.
Right, it's important because some of us still haven't made profit.
Yeah.
So what I would say, right? Yeah. So what I would say then is, what was that little moment where you went, oh, okay, no, like I want to actively seek out publishing. I want my voice to be out there a lot further than just playing G.I. Joes with my buddies and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, I'm jotting notes down over here, so I'm not on my phone. Just FYI.
No, jot away.
I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be rude if you don't see. Yeah, people think I'm on the phone sometimes. Just want to throw that out there.
So for people out there, one thing I've noticed about you over the years, and I don't know if you're a bus rider or what, but I've seen you have like a fucking Eminem style.
I've been known to ride a bus or two.
Yeah, you have an Eminem style notepad, and you're writing in there, and you have. Dude, I have several of those, and so like I'll see you. Over the years, I've seen your notepad and seen this shit that you're doing. I'm like, I know that dude. Like I know that dude very well.
Yeah, no, and you're just like me. I think you know what I was thinking about it earlier, and I remember you commenting on posts from years ago of me being So I live in New Jersey now. Yeah. I grew up in New York, but I worked in New York City, so I would commute to the city. I would take the bus. So. If I'm sitting in traffic or I'm just sitting on the bus for an hour and a half one way, 3 hours total a day, how do I get the most out of it? A lot of the time I'm listening to podcasts or messing around with my phone or catching up on some sleep. Other times, I have the notebook or the laptop there, just trying to make the best out of it and get some content done. So that was, that was me. And I would do that all the time and actually get a lot of my writing done there. Because now I still have a day job and I'm remote. I'm working from home. Luckily, I can still do that and just finding time to balance, writing, the YouTube channel, this, that, and the social media. You know how it is. I mean, I think everybody deals with the same thing. It's the other crap that people don't tell you about when you try to get into comics takes up sometimes 85% of making and writing comics. So no more bus, but I try to bust my ass here and and get it done. Yes, nice. I'm out. Good night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go on the high note. That was good. Allison says, "How do you make a small fortune in comics? Start with a large one." Yeah.
There you go.
That's kind of it.
I was gonna say, I think was that an Elon Musk quote? How do you get to space or something, or how do you make a fortune in space travel or something like that, going to Mars. And he says, start with the large one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you asked me a question in there. I'm sorry.
I did. What was my question?
Well, I think we started origin story when I started. When I started writing. You have great segues, though. By the way.
Oh, thanks.
So starting writing. So I started writing. I forget when, but I just had this idea in my, I guess, early or mid 20s, and that's when I started writing. And I was writing a short story. I wasn't thinking quite what I was going to do with it yet. I just needed to get, these crazy ideas out of my head and somewhere. And I knew, actually, you know what it was? I was going to school for animation, and I wanted to animate and bring it to life that way. And that ended up as a whole different story. But I took a right when I could have took a left, this, that, and the other thing. No bad decisions or anything. Everything was perfect. But I went off of that path. But that was the idea. I wanted to write and make stories via animation. Then I just, when I went off that path, I just wanted to write just for the sake of writing. I think one of the questions was, when did I seek publication? I think that was...
No, but we can get, let's do that. Well, yeah, we were talking about, so whether it's publication through yourself or someone else. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think at one point, I think I'm going to bounce around, which I've been known to do.
That's a very writer thing to do.
Huh?
That's a very writer's thing to do.
I know, right? It's so bad. It's so tough to keep myself on track sometimes. And now
you got
me thinking this way, and I forgot about the whole thought. I don't know. At one point, I think when I started taking it serious, to be honest, and not really, I guess think about wanting to get publication, whether it's self-published or not. I think it was around the time I found out I was going to have, we were going to have our first child. I thought to myself, what? It might sound cheesy, but I want to leave something, and not necessarily that, the sci-fi space opera is something that's, the next American novel thing, but it's at the end of the day, at the end of my life, I'd like to look at a bookshelf and see some things that I've accomplished and see the progression and the growth with each passing completed task, and we get that out of many things, I guess, in life. But as far as the creative drive, that was, once I had that little seed, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to create, I want to write stories and bring them to life. I think the first thing I wrote was a graphic novel. So this will go to the tips for new writers, which is something I ask on the show all the time. It's probably something you ask too, because I see you laughing. Start small, right? I preach that, and everybody does nowadays. They didn't preach it when I was starting because I didn't hear it, at least. And I wrote a graphic novel, or at least 150 of the 300-page epic. And then I ended up linking up with an artist and paying them to end up drawing. And he drew 60 pages and then kind of fell off the radar. I fell off a cliff somewhere. I don't know what happened, but I printed it. So I have something half done. It wasn't good. The storytelling, the pacing, everything's kind of off. I could look back and point to it, but I learned the hard way, financially and in the lost time that was there.
I totally agree. Lucky for me, I started with a single issue that was supposed to be an ongoing, and at least with a single issue, it's I got the 24 pages done, because I think not being able to finish a 100-page whatever, and especially getting 60 pages in and then it just being done, that had to have been really demoralizing. How do you kind of go, okay, fuck, because I think we all have those stories where we hit this spot where it's oh, cool, this is the perfect time for me to stop.
Yeah, that could have been. That could have been.
Why are you still here? Yeah,
that's a great question. That could have been. When I think about it, and I ran. So, if you check my Kickstarter page or projects that I put out, the first one was for, I think it was the Stoned Ape Society. Is this graphic novel, and I tried to. without doing any Kickstarter research, I tried to, without having any social media presence before I even, maybe 2 weeks into having a Twitter account. And again, this was probably 2015, so 6 years ago. I went to Kickstarter to fund the book and probably got 3 backers. And I think I was asking for, I mean, the right amount of money, the money I would need, which I think was 10 grand at the time. But right, I think I raised $200, if that. So yeah, that kicked me right in the crotch. But I think I also took it and I pitched it. I pitched it around to a few, to a few publishers who are known for putting out graphic novels or collections as opposed to floppies. And I actually got a good response from I think it might have been, what was it? I think it was Avatar Press. Oh, I can't remember who it was. And the guy's name is escaping me. I know he's still in the industry. I don't think he's with them anymore. But anyway, he wrote back to me saying, he liked the concept and everything. His comment was about the title. He was like, would you consider changing the title? And I think I responded, I don't remember what the response was. I think it was actually a yes. And then I listed a bunch of other titles, which were equally as bad now that I think about it. And I think I might have scared him away. But but I think that little glimmer of hope and of somebody, liking and feeling what I was doing, that had to have given me a little bit of a push to continue going forward. Yeah, I could have just stopped there. I think, many people would have. I'm sure you have similar stories. And that's funny. That's a question that I ask too. I want to hear when people, how people overcame, quote unquote, or just what kind of forks in the road people met or were met with, and then what kept them going forward. So I love that question.
Oh, dude, I mean, it's tough, and it's out there for most of us. I mean, whether it's something big or small. I mean, for me, I got in with another person who was getting their stuff, and we both had our heads way in the cloud, and we asked for, I think it was like 12 grand on the first one. We made like 4. Like, we actually really pushed hard, and that's when I started like really kind of seeing the world around me and going, oh, I don't have a fucking name. I'm no one. Like, I can't believe we did this good. And it was really like mostly friends and family and stuff. And then we redid it. And we were, instead of bringing it out as a graphic novel, let's do a floppy and get the whole thing started. And that one did well. But during the campaign, the guy who was actually running it all, he got into some serious issues and he ended up going bankrupt. And so all of the money that came from Kickstarter went straight into his bankrupt and turned his negative balance into a zero. And so it was just like, wait, what the fuck? And to this day, that book's still not out. That was back in like 2017.
Is that person still around?
In the comic world? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not at all. And so, I mean,
can I guess their name? Because you hear there's still people, shady folks doing things, but we'll leave it at that.
It's not a story that I haven't heard from other. Like, it's definitely a story I've heard from other people before.
That sucks.
But well, it is, and that was my moment. I was going to give up, and my buddy ended up. He was the guy that I kind of got wrapped up in this. He was helping us with some graphic design stuff, and he threw me the Welcome to the Void script that I had written like 10 years prior. And he said, why the fuck aren't you doing your own stuff? Why are you worrying about anyone else? Like, you've worked so hard to now make a name for yourself and start to do stuff. Like, at this point, I was just starting to edit and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, why aren't you making your own stuff? Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. And I just kept going. And eventually it felt like there was this point where I was like, yeah, you can't stop now. You've already gone too far into this. You got to make the real push. And do you was there a moment for you where you're like, I mean, of course, at any point we can still just quit. But was there a moment for you where you were like, oh yeah, I'm addicted. I'm into this. I need to keep going. I need to see where I can end up with all this.
Yeah, I think it was the first, you know what? I have this. Is this the notebook? I might have the notebook. I was going to say it's the first time I put the pen to paper and wrote that book that turned into the graphic novel. I mean, I just felt it. I just felt the need to write and just create shit. I mean, I just felt it. And I think I was talking to somebody about it. I think I draw, or at least back then, and still currently, I would listen to different podcasts, especially a lot of comedian podcasts, and hear them talk about the industry, the comedy industry and the scene. And every one of them, anyone you've heard of, took 10, 15 years before they blew up, at least. So hearing that from people who are household names, it let me know, like, hey, not that I'm not shooting for that. I'm not caring about being a household name, but I just want to write and have people pick up my stuff, read it, tell me they like it, meet other fellow creators, and form that kind of, or be one with the industry.
Yeah.
But the fact that it might take 10, 15 years to get there, I think taking that inspiration from those stories from comedians kind of kept me saying, you know what, I'm just going to, okay, no one's heard of me. That's fine. I'm going to post this on Instagram. I'll create a TikTok. I'll create whatever, every social media. I'll put a couple things on there. I'll get 1 like today, 2 likes next year, and just slowly and just keep doing it. I mean, you know, who's stopping me?
Yeah.
I just had the itch. I mean, you know, I know you know how it is, but that, right, just getting those vibes from those type of people really pushed me, you know, 10 years ago, 7, 8 years ago to make it happen and not stop.
Right. Now, so yeah, I mean, there's lots of different paths that we can take and lots of different things that we can do. And I think that we both kind of recognized at some point, like, yes, I want to make my own stuff, but having somebody else kind of help distribute that and having a publisher have my back, it's not only, I mean, it's helpful in a lot of ways. And I think like there's a lot of people who will tell you openly, you know, going through a publisher, you're not going to make a lot of money. Hell, you might still lose money. But I think a lot of us also recognize it's also a way to make a name for yourself. And if you're able to kind of take that loss and build that fan base, you can turn it into something that, like, you know, you can utilize later on, you know, through your Kickstarters or by getting better gigs with bigger companies or all that kind of stuff. And I think, you know, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's kind of a way that a bunch of us have kind of seen and looked ahead and gone, this is a way, a path to move forward in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that all 100%. It's all of those things you said. It's building your portfolio. It's building your name recognition for fans, for other creators to see and point at you and say, okay, I saw Chuck's book with this publisher. And as you continue to progress, they can look at everything else you do in the future. So it kind of, I mean, I guess it's kind of if you think about it, it's a networking thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you have your book with publisher A, their fans might be slightly different from the fan base with publisher B. So now if you're getting with a few different and Kickstarter is a whole different group of fans as well. So you're getting in, you want to spread yourself out as much as possible and get into the different avenues that you can when the opportunities kind of present themselves. So yeah, that's 100% spot on.
It was funny because my kid was talking to me about, you know, how, you know, Dad, aren't you a little worried about comics? Because, you know, I was seeing that, you know, comics only brought in this much, whereas, you know, most of the money was in the TV shows and the movies and all that kind of stuff, and getting those deals are really difficult. So aren't you worried? And I said, well, first off, those stats are skewed as fuck. And they were like, okay, how's that? And I was like, well, that's usually how much Diamond made, you know, what they sold. But what they're not telling you is, like, last year, 2020, I don't even know how much they made, but they announced in November that they had pulled in $22 million just through fucking comics. in that 1 year. And so it's like that's 22 million that they're not that Diamond's not talking about, that nobody else is talking about, that we're not hearing about because it didn't go through the LCSs, it didn't go through any of these regular chains, and and they're not talking about, of course, the money that we make because we don't tell anyone, but the money that we make on our own websites, the money that we make at conventions, the amount of books that we sell. Like, you've got a dude like fucking Henri Compan who goes in with Yi Sun Shin and is selling like 1,000 books at a show. And
Crazy.
That stuff's not, right? And that's ridiculous numbers, but those are numbers that are not talked about. So, and as soon as my kid heard that, they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah. They're able to really sell this whole gloom and doom thing, and it's kind of bullshit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. And the publisher sales on their own personal website, those aren't necessarily public knowledge, things like that. Yeah. I mean, if you're in it to get rich anyway, you might be barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
I'm clawing at the break-even line, and my fingernails are peeling.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you, man. So, why don't you take us through the story of what it was? You did quite well with Wretches on Kickstarter, getting that. And I know because I got to watch it myself. But what was the trip of taking it from a Kickstarter property and bringing it to a publisher? How was that? How did that come together for you? And without going into too much detail, because of course you're still in with them and whatnot, what kind of an experience has that been for you?
So, I think I pitched Wretches after issue 1. I think I did, and I didn't get any bites or any interest at the time, and I just wanted to continue making the book. It's what I wanted to make, and with Kickstarter we have the ability to make whatever the hell we want to make. So I kept on keeping on with issue 2 on Kickstarter, and after that, I believe I was pushing forward with Solomon Farias, the artist, Chun-Lin Zhao, the letterist, Chaz Pangburn. So what did I say? Letterist, colorist.
She's a colorist, right? Yeah. Chaz
Pangburn, the editor and letterer. I've been known to say letterer many times as I'm looking at my old clips. I have a marble mouth. So yeah, we just kept on. I was able to continue funding the project without going to Kickstarter, and I was going to put the entire trade on Kickstarter. We funded issue 1 and 2 on there. I said, you know what? I need 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to start getting it done in the background and plan for a Kickstarter for the full trade. And I forget what year that was. I think that might have been 2016, 2017. And then I ended up engaging and getting in on an anthology project. I think it's 2017, called The Fourth Monkey, an anthology for awareness. So I ended up taking a very huge role as the editor, running the Kickstarter, co-editor, co-creator, whatever title you want to do, kind of wrangling the 30 creators from all around the world, which is kind of like trying to wrangle kittens. It's kind of chaotic. Everyone did a fantastic job at the end of the day, but that took a good year and a half out of my comic book life to focus on that. But at the same time, it was a fantastic learning experience. I mean, I feel like it leveled me up in so many different ways, like going through the fire of that was the creation of that book. So yes, it is a cat herder is a very tough job. And so that kind of, while that was happening, that's when the artists and the other crew, my collaborators on Wretches, were working in the background. I can't remember. I think I pitched another title. While that was going on, I pitched something called Nocturne County, which is a Dr. Seuss meets Sin City book, equipped with rhyming narrative, and the whole thing is just one big excuse for me to write a children's book in a gritty crime noir, the hell is that book? Is it On the Waterfront? Or what's the Jack Nicholson Chinatown? It's like a Chinatown meets Sin City meets Dr. Seuss. So I pitched that to them, and they had mixed feelings about it, but they ended up passing on it And then one of them, I forget who it was, one of them said, if you have anything else, feel free to pitch it. So I was like, well, I got this book called Wretches. I mean, I've been pushing it on Kickstarter. I sent them a pitch packet that I had from like a year prior. I might have just changed the dates on it or added some new pages. And within like a week, they were like, we like it. Let's do it. Let's publish it. So yeah, that was fantastic. Working with them is very good. The ability. So I met James Hake, who is now, I forget his title, but he's on the board. He's one of the owners, and I met him just online, but through Kickstarter. He was kickstarting his books back in 2017, prior, I think, to joining Scout. And that goes to this whole dirty word networking, but just making friends with other creators, forming these types of bonds, and just sharing your work, engaging with the community. Because so him and I developed a good friendship there. I backed his books on Kickstarter, he backed mine. We would talk on Twitter, and yeah, he was on there, so he helped. He was one of the folks who was instrumental to getting Wretches there. And I can DM him on Facebook, and I'm DMing the head of a publishing company, and he's giving me a response pretty quickly. But I've heard this is not just me. I've heard this from other creators with who have books under Scout. So working with them, it's been phenomenal. They also are 100%. I don't want to speak for them. They're pretty open to allowing creators to utilize Kickstarter to fund the books, because they know, and I think they're one of the first publishers to come around and understand that without a book, you don't have anything to publish. Making a book costs thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars if you have several issues, 2 or 3 issues, and you're already up there. It's hard to do nowadays. It's very hard to do. So they are okay with, and they have been okay with their creators going to Kickstarter. So I have nothing but good things to say about those guys and that publishing company.
Yeah. No, I've spoken with them. They are great guys. Like, really, really terrific people. And basically what I've been told is, look, we're okay with you going to Kickstarter. We understand you need to make your money too. Just give us something different. Give us our own covers, give us our own variants, give us something that you didn't have on the Kickstarter, and we're good. And I'm like, oh, that's perfectly fair. That's a totally fair ask. And right. I think that's absolutely doable. So yeah, man.
No, that's the trade-off. Yeah, thank you for adding that in. It's not like they're just going to take the book you've made and print it on Kickstarter and start selling the books, the prints that you made.
Yeah,
right. They want completely. There are requirements involved, but I think it's not unreasonable for them to ask, for a couple of different covers, and maybe some other tweaks or edits here and there. But yeah, they've been phenomenal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a great company and whatnot. And so to go back to the Fourth Monkey, because I did back the Fourth Monkey. I enjoyed the Fourth Monkey. It was
good. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a great project, man. I loved the idea behind it, and I mean, also most of those creators, they're still around, still pumping stuff out. You got Rob Anderson, you got Chris Mad, you got Bob Sally. Obviously, I mean, there was a bunch. I don't remember all of them. Didn't Stan Yak do the art for Bob's piece, or am I off on that one? Yeah.
No, Stan Yak was in there. Yeah, there's so many. Brian Hawkins was one of the writers. Madeline Holly Rosing, Russell Noelty, Nicholas Torres. We had a slew of guest artists come in and do illustrations, do pinups. I have the book over there somewhere. That was phenomenal, and a lot of them, I think most of them, are still around making comics, making good comics.
Yep,
that was a fun one.
So, what was that like setting that up? Did you have open auditions, or did you guys pull in the people that you wanted?
Yeah, so I was. It was the idea of Daniel, the guy. He was the guy who kind of had the idea, and I was one of the people he invited on. So he invited pretty much everybody. I think I brought in Madeline and the artist she worked with that, which I think was Ed Jimenez. So this was all an invite only thing from Dan. But as it went on, like he and I developed a good relationship, a good rapport via DMs on Facebook. So we would talk and talk and talk. And then he told me, he's like, man, you're the only guy bouncing all these ideas. Like we're bouncing ideas off. He's like, do you want to come in on it with me and kind of help me and be, I guess, whatever you want to call it, co-publisher, co-creator. And I was like, you know what? I'm down for that. And that's kind of how I got my foot in the door and in there. And then, one thing led to another. And then I was kind of running the show. There was a little something.
As there usually is.
Yeah, it was.
It's not an easy path.
I don't say I bit off more than I can chew, but I did throw my name in there, and you know what? Once I did that, I had to go 100% and do everything, as I would do it if it was my own independent title. So I think it was kind of coming off of Wretches 2, the Kickstarter. So I was really, I had good steam as far as building the page and the Kickstarter campaign page and video and things like that. So I kind of just wanted to run with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now you haven't, that I know of, you haven't done an anthology since. Is that a coincidence?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
100% a coincidence. Yeah, I was like, that feels like a very purposeful move. Like, it's unreal, right? I gotta go. It's a very unwieldy, like
it just takes too much. It's just too much. Yeah. I mean, it's just too much might not be the word, but it's a lot. You're going to use. I mean, you're going to. I don't want to say lose, but it's going to take 6 to 12 months of your time if you're going to do it and do it right. I mean, it's not going to happen quick. If every story is 6 to 8 pages and less, I mean, even that, artists are going to, have to squeeze it in their schedule. It's just, it's going to take a lot of time, and I don't want to do it anymore ever again.
I completely understand it.
Even writing for one, man, personally, I just have between work, the day job, the kids, the YouTube channel, the other projects that I'm trying to write and trying to pitch, and it's just, man, you know how it is. There's just not enough hours in the day. So at least taking on that type of role as far as leading an anthology or editing one, I wouldn't do that. Like even writing one, writing another short story for somebody else's anthology. I mean, I love creating. I just, need more time.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And yeah, it does take a lot out. And also, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way I do. You can't just, at least I can't, just write a script and throw it out there and be like, oh, okay, cool. They've got it and their artist will take care of that. I'll be like, no. Let's see what they're doing. Let's see, I need to see what those pages look like. I'd love to see thumbnails, because my name is still on there. I want you to understand all of my points and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, if the right people had asked me to do it, I might give the baby away and let them raise it and let them see it through. But
right.
But yeah, I don't know.
You heard it here, folks.
Leave that open. Open-ended.
Just in case. So I often talk about badges. And when I'm talking about badges, I'm talking about there's these little things that we have done in our careers that you can hold as a badge. I made this much on Kickstarter. I got this many backers, sold this many books. I've worked with this person, worked with that publisher, all that kind of stuff. To me, they're all badges and we kind of collect them. So my question to you, and I mean, being able to look back on the badges you've collected and the things you can be proud of, looking forward, are there particular badges, were you ever in the Scouts or Cubs or anything like that?
No, but I know what you mean. I'm following you. Yeah.
So no, the reason I say that is that you would flip through the book and you'd be like, which badge do I want next?
Oh, okay.
And so my question would be, are you already looking ahead and you're going, that's the badge I want to aim for next. That's what I want to hit next.
That's a good question.
Thanks.
I thought you were going to go a different way. I thought you were going to ask me to like flex right now and say, what was your biggest badge so far? I was like, Jesus, I don't know, man.
We can do something like that without forcing a flex. We could do something like that.
No, I thought I was feeling forced for a second, but no. Still good questions. A future flex, a future goal, future badge. I mean, I just pitched something recently that I would love to. It's a little bit different, and it's in the realm. It's comics, and I would love to land the publisher that I've pitched it to. And yeah, I don't know.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it. I don't like talking about because then we might stick and move, and if we get no's, we get no's. It's the nature of the business, and we'll do something else with it. But that's outside of the box. It's a little bit different. Folks probably wouldn't guess it if they had 5 tries. So it's probably not what you're thinking. Let's just say that. What else? I don't know, man. I would love to. I mean, there was the whole. I was editing. This might be a subtle flex and also a bad answer your question at the same time. I was editing. I spoke with somebody at Scout, and I was editing the videos recently. It's going to go up on the YouTube channel probably in a month or so. They were telling me that they threw their IPs down in front of the CEO or whatever title it is, a head dude at Sony. So this is for multimedia stuff, and he earmarked like 8 of their titles, and Wretches was one of the ones he put to the side and said, you know what, just keep this in the back pocket or whatever for future needs. So when I heard that, and I forgot all about it until I was editing literally like 2 days ago, when that popped up, I just felt like these butterflies. And regardless of where that goes, which statistically it's going to go absolutely nowhere, it's fuel for the fire to keep me wanting to go and keep gathering these little, small wins, these little reward, these badges, like you laid out perfectly. You gather these badges, and they're the drive, man. They're the things that help us keep going.
And I would call that a badge, man. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that was big.
To have someone say, well, this is worth taking a second look at. Like that's great, man. That's a big deal in a world of where we're given so many no's. Having a maybe, especially from someone that you really can look up to, that's a big deal. So no, I think that's great. Like, I mean, for me, because I edit, I'm able to have these accidental badges. I edited a book for Monty Michael Moore, who is a great dude, done tons of art for like Magic the Gathering, D&D, like all this stuff I love and whatnot. And he ended up having Ebass do a cover. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in a book with Ebass, like someone I've been reading since the 90s, like his work on. Yeah. And so that's a badge. I didn't do anything. Like I didn't bring Ebass in. I didn't, he didn't look and go, oh, Chuck's involved? Like none of that shit happened. My part in it did not determine any of that, but that's something that I can now walk up to him at a show and be like, dude, can you sign this book? And I'm signing right beside it, homie. Yeah.
Just got to point down. Yeah.
Like, see that guy?
Security.
Yeah. Here's my
name is here.
Totally. So those are like accidental badges, but I mean, I still wear them. I don't give a shit.
Oh, 100%. No, that's cool. That's very awesome.
So then I will go to you and kind of throw the same thing back to you, sort of allow you to do that little bit of flex. It's not about your biggest badge. Is there one that you're maybe the most proud of? Like this one thing where you can go, that one really lifted me up, really made me feel good.
I'm looking at the date down there. I'm trying to think. We did pitch something and it got picked up. I think it was early 2021. So COVID, I mean, everyone knows, everyone went and suffered through, COVID and losses and financial, all the different types of things people have went through. So it was hard on us. And early 2021, something got picked up, and something that I've been writing. Actually, I guess it kind of goes back to something you asked me earlier about the initial, I guess somewhere in the origin story. One of the things I was writing was I didn't know what it was going to become. It was around the time my daughter was born or going to be born. I was starting to write a book starring or I guess the main protagonist was a young female character. It's kind of Lord of the Rings. I'm drawing a blank here. I've talked about this project in a while. Harry Potter meets Lord of the Rings a little bit with a young female protagonist, and it was kind of a novel. I was writing it in chapters, and I'm kind of looking. We were talking before, and I grabbed this old book from down in the gutter, and it's actually in good shape. To be honest with you, it's in pretty good shape for what it is. And I think in here, I have chapter 10, The Hunted. Like I kind of remember what this was about, but the main title, the main character is named after my daughter. And so I took that concept, that idea, and kind of molded it and came up with a different story and pitched it. And if I'm ever able to do a second book, I think I'm going to take that novel thing that I was writing, go through it, fine tune it, and that'll be part 2. So I guess, getting that pitch picked up after COVID, having that type of history behind it. And this was something I was building the pitch on, or the idea, and talking to the artist about in 2018, maybe. So, comics take a long time.
Yeah.
Right, 3 years ago, where we started, me and the artist linked up. I pitched it to them. They loved it. 3 years later, we landed the pitch. So it's just, I'm pretty stoked about that. So that's my little flex.
No, I think that's a solid flex, and it's not
Thank you.
a big one, so it's good. Just as far as like you weren't really showing off or anything. I think that's a really great one. So good for you. That was a humble flex. I like that.
Thank you.
So you know, comics are doing real well for you. You're enjoying the ride and everything. Everyone often, I see this on Facebook all the time, and I'm sure you do too. And maybe we feel the same way, maybe we don't. But a lot of times people are like, oh, if your comic gets picked up as a TV show or a movie and all that kind of shit. And I tend to kind of deflect a lot of that shit because I'm writing a comic. If it gets picked up, I'll deal with it then. But that was never the intention. If I wanted to write a movie, I'd go write a fucking movie.
Right.
I have that. I'm able to do that as much as any of the rest of you are. And if that's what you want to do, go do it. But I would ask you if there was another medium that you wanted to dip your toes in and play with, not necessarily, trying to sell your other ideas, but maybe you have an idea that would only work. My dog. If you had a medium that you had the perfect story for, what medium do you think you'd want to jump into next and try to test out?
I don't listen to many. I don't listen to many audio dramas, but after talking with Madeline, who is now writing a Boston Metaphysical Society audio drama, she talked to me about writing the script a little bit. And I think it just went up on one of the YouTube clips yesterday or even today. Lost track of days. Today, Tuesday? I think it went up today.
Today's Tuesday.
Writing it from comic book to audio drama. And that just sounded pretty damn cool. I mean, she was talking about writing it, and it just seemed at first like, okay, you're dealing with different collaborators, but you're still writing for... my thing to her was, are you writing for, where in comics you're writing for the artist, the letterer, colorist? Are you writing for the actor? And she said, yes, but you're writing for the sound engineer as well. Uh-huh. So you're writing the dialogue, which is for the actor. You're writing not panels, I guess is similar to panels. You're writing the scene, what's going on in there, but you're also writing the ambiance, what's going on, what decor, what's in the room. Is it an empty room with hardwood floors? Is it outside in the grass? These are things you're writing for the sound engineer. Is there the raindrops hitting the gutter? Different things like that. I mean, that sounds pretty damn fun. I would like to dip my toe into figuring that puzzle out. So that might be something to answer your question, to mess around with if I had the opportunity.
Well, so I don't know if you knew this, but Eric Cockrell and I have an audio drama that's out there.
No.
And yeah, it's called Chronicles of the Essence Guard. It's been going for a year and a half now. We're partway through season 3. Actually, tomorrow, episode 4 of season 3 drops.
Send me a link, please.
Yeah, absolutely,
Throw it in the
man.
comments. Get it out there.
Chronicles
of the Essence Guard.
Chronicles of the Essence Guard. If anybody, Katrina actually. So we ended up turning the first 2 seasons into a novel. So we have that now too. And I would, if you want to talk about that afterwards or at some point, we have a blast with that. And we put out new episodes every 2 weeks, which is different from what a lot of other people do or even suggest. But we're happy with the way we're doing it. It's working well for us.
So tell me about it. I mean, how is it writing it?
So
is it similar to how go please.
It's similar, except for what we decided to do is instead of because we can't afford all the actors and all that kind of stuff. So instead what we did was we have one narrator who basically reads it like an audiobook, and they do voices for it and all that kind of stuff. So it has the audiobook sentimentality and sensibility, but each chapter is its own little entity and its own little part of the story, and it's a sequential thing. So seasons 1 and 2 were effectively one book, and that's because we didn't know how well it was going to do. And so we're writing and working on the first season, the first 10 episodes, and I'm like, man, we end on a fucking cliffhanger. You can't do that. So I said to Eric, look, why don't we do the full 2 seasons? We have a hard ending there. And then at that point, we can kind of look and go, where are we at? What's up? What does everything look like? And we can see what's up. And so as we got partway through season 2, we were like, oh shit, this thing has legs. Like, it's actually doing well. So we ended up moving forward and going on to season 3 and going on to another book and whatnot.
That's awesome, man. I had no idea. I'm going to definitely check that out.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, sorry. I literally got a phone call, so I just had to message the person real quick and just be like, I'll talk to you in a bit, man. I'm kind of in the middle of something.
No, it's all good. I thought the audio or my connection was crapping out, but okay.
No, that was all me.
No worries. Okay, so did you link up with, or do you know the actor or the person reading it, or did you have to look for somebody on Fiverr?
So that's exactly what we did. We looked for someone on Fiverr. And what was really cool is we found a dude. We were both very happy. And actually, at first, I'm fucking cheap, man. Like, I'm a DIY kind of guy. So I just said, hey, man, I can do this.
Glad you made that distinction pretty quick. You said you're a DUI kind of guy at first.
Right. All right. Speaking of that.
Cheers.
right back at you. No, I'm a DIY kind of guy, and I was like, I could do it. And Eric said, you know what? There's a cadence, a sentimentality to how that kind of stuff is happening, and you would need to learn it. Why don't we find someone who already knows it?
Right.
And I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely, no problem. And so we found this guy, very fair prices and whatnot. And the nice thing is that, okay, there we go. Katrina, you rock. Thank you, hon. And he was really good. And the nice thing is my partner Eric is also a sound engineer. So
nice.
We had all the parts. We just had to make it happen. And so we did that. And so basically what we do is we drop an episode every 2 weeks, and that gives us 2 weeks to get, we do 20-minute episodes, which is about 3,500 words. So we have 3,500 words. We have 2 weeks to get an episode going, and we go ahead and we kind of outline the season, outline what each episode is going to happen. Obviously, leaving some open stuff. So the whole season is not written. Like, I mean, I'm writing episodes 5 and 6 right now, and 4 drops tomorrow. So So, you're kind of flying by the seat of the pants, but you also have your plan. You know where it's going.
Yeah.
And we leave a lot of room open for happy accidents to happen. And I like this because I would tell you at this point, I'm so fucking busy with all the stuff going on that the idea of writing a book right now, a novel, yeah, I couldn't do it. But knowing that so much so, and then knowing that I have to go back, but this way the chapter's done, and I can move on to the next one, and we'll go back and forth. He'll do one, I'll do one, all that kind of stuff. It's a very different way of doing it. Someone like Russell Nolte's doing it, and so is Madeline and several others, and they're doing it where they'll have their season, and then they'll drop it all in one chunk, and that allows people to binge it, and that tends to be a little more what fans want. For us, it's just not possible.
Yeah, I know Madeline's doing a Kickstarter for it, so
yeah,
that's got to be, it's got to be costly. Yeah. You're paying the actors, sound engineers, so I can imagine. Man. I can imagine. It's like comics; it costs, it costs money.
But I mean, in a year, in 2020, we got 20. I think we ended up having 23 episodes. There's no fucking way that you're going to be able to finish 23 comics in a year. And so that was a really amazing feeling. Like neither of us have been able to get that far into a story and have things like a denouement and all that kind of stuff, especially within a year. Like, it was such an amazing feeling. So yeah, man, there's definitely some cool stuff that can be done with it, and some neat ways that you can go about working on that style, and just, there's so much you can play with in that whole thing. We do have a question somewhere. Okay, I do have to go back because there were some questions. Brian Manel asked, are there any writing hurdles you're still dealing with today? Which ones have you felt you conquered and improved upon for the most part?
It's a great question. I don't think I've conquered any of them. I mean, if you think you've conquered the craft, I think, I don't know. I think you're sorely mistaken. There's just too much. I mean, we're learning with each thing we complete. I mean, you get better every time. What was the last part of that? What do you think you're getting better at?
Yeah. Which ones have you felt you conquered and improved upon for the most part?
I got a good compliment from my editor. I forget what he said specifically, so maybe it wasn't that good of an accomplishment that I remember the exact wording, but the dialogue, he was like, interpersonal connections and dialogue is your thing. And I'd never thought that was my thing, but thinking back on it, and with Wretches, it was a brother-sister story. Yeah. So there had to be a lot of, and they were all going through heartache and trying to adapt and deal with the emotions that come with loss and things like that. So getting that across through dialogue and getting, the brotherly, sisterly banter, all that stuff, I think it did come across in the book, and hearing that from him it was definitely awesome. So yeah, I think that's something that I felt like I wasn't amazing at, and it felt hard, but I think the more you give it time and the more revisions you do, and it'll just help. Someone was telling me recently, I don't know if you do this, but they read the dialogue out loud. I mean, I've heard that before 100 times. I've read it, but I've never done it. I've never tried it. Does it work? I mean, it's got to work if people recommend doing it, but I've never given that a stab.
I mean, it's not necessary if you already have the feel, but I mean, what is, but yeah, it does certainly work. I will often tell clients, have you read this aloud? Because a sentence will be so clunky, and you're like, how did you not notice that? And
I guess they haven't found the voice, right? I guess that would be the reason, the voice for the character, because they can't all talk the same.
Right. It's that, or sometimes we just need to get a certain sentiment out. And it's okay for that sentiment to completely bomb and be terrible, so long as someone knows what you're talking about, and then we can kind of tool it up and work on it from there. So, but it'll just be like, say that one out loud. Like, because as editing and whatnot, you'll get that kind of pushback, and they'll be like, "Ooh, I really like that," and you're like, "No, you like the sentiment of it." But the actual wording, if you really set it out, and then a lot of times they'll come back and go, "Oh yeah, no, that feels wrong on the tongue." I'm like, "Yeah, people don't talk like that."
Right, right. Especially if it's a cliche thing. Like if, to your point, we're trying to get the sentiment out, and the first thing that'll hit will be a cliche phrase. And I've been smacked on the hand by the editor, in the past for that. And taking that criticism is just something that, you have to do because it helps you grow. So getting beat up on maybe issue 2 of Wretches in 2017, I think I still go to sleep shaking at night because reading back on it, it's like, yes, the dialogue was that bad. And my editor did tell me in the nicest way possible, a lot of this is on the nose, it's cliche. And yeah, I could read it again and say, you know what, that's 100% right. So now I find myself writing for the editor who's going to be the first guy to read it. So it just forces you to do more repasses. At least for me, it just forced me to do more and more revisions, get it exactly where it needs to be. Don't be lazy and skimp on the revisions before sending it out the door. If you have a partner or an editor that, you brought on, I would 100% recommend doing that if you can, if you can afford it, because obviously it's just another collaborator in the mix, which, let's be real, is going to cost another couple of bucks. Maybe it won't break the bank, but maybe it will, because making comics is expensive as it is. But yeah, thanks for the question, Brian.
Yeah,
I hope I answered it.
No, I totally think you did. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Brian says reading dialogue sort of works for me. Acting out in the character while doing so too. I get it. If you find yourself cosplaying in the mirror, though, you've gone fucking too far.
Get back here, scoundrel.
Right.
That's on the nose. It's clear.
Let me throw the wig on. You're like, no. That's too far, man. If your family's coming in there and they see you dressed up as your characters,
Daddy's talking to himself again.
Right. Absolutely, man. There was something said in there, and I was like, "What is that? A question? No, that's not a question. That's just somebody's cat is running on their keyboard." What's going on? Steph is in the house, so he's about to talk some shit. Very excited.
What's up?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I think we've gone through a lot of that, and I really love that more people are looking at the audio dramas and seeing like, oh, dude, that's a thing. That's somewhere I can play with and something I can move towards, because it's a very different thing, and it's kind of the Wild West at this point, where yes, like a lot of people are doing audio, or a lot of people are doing podcasts, but audio dramas are still kind of something that, especially in the indie scene, not being played with as much that I'm seeing. Luckily my dad is at work during my writing times. Yeah, you kind of have to almost make sure of that, but yeah, when he says, I would love to dress up as my character, just need to lose about 50 pounds. Yeah, I think that might be for the same for a lot of us. So we're gonna start winding this down. We especially with Steph in the building, he's about to set off a fart bomb or something. I can feel it. But as you kind of look forward to the next step in your career and the next things that you want to work on and do for yourself, what are things that you feel you want to work on the most that are going to help bring you to that next level?
The big focus now, honestly, is the YouTube channel, and I think it's very, very similar to what you're doing here. I think the only difference is the editing and post, and the cutting out specific clips. And I'm working on, and I just recently put it together on YouTube, the playlist section. So I kind of want to aggregate these type of topics that we've been talking about. Tips and advice for new writers is one of the playlists. Collaborating, how to collaborate, collaborating topics is another playlist. All about crowdfunding and Kickstarter is another playlist, just to aggregate. And I think you said it maybe before we even went on air, like the reason you do this and the reason I started doing that is to kind of build an area that creators can go to, more specifically, I guess newer creators, to find things or topics or discussions on writing and how to go about doing it, how to go about every little aspect of it, things that I guess I didn't really notice and find when I first started out. So folks don't make these same mistakes. And, I started with a graphic novel and funded half of it because I should have started small. Mistake, it's costly and all that crap. So I learned the hard way doing, messing up. I almost cursed. I can't remember if I curse on here, but messing up plenty of times. I fucked up plenty of times. And
there you go.
I mean, I learned, felt good. I felt naughty, right? Chuck. The kids are in bed. It's 10 p.m. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, man, just that's been my focus, and that's very, very time consuming. So I'm only able to, get to one interview a month, pretty much. I'm trying to work it out so where it's maybe every 3 weeks I get a new interview, because I'm also doing weekly releases. So I will do the full interview and a couple of clips from that interview on one day. The following week, I'll do a few more clips. The next week, the third week, I'm trying to do solo vids and solo clips. I was actually editing one today on how I go about writing a script. And I think it's something else you said earlier. I'm trying to do it how the whole idea, there is no wrong way to write comics. It's all how I do it. And I just want to put out there, a way to do it. And with the interviews, you see the other ways other folks do it, and we talk about it. So it's all a learning experience for me going through the interviews and building the channel. So I'm enjoying doing it. It's time consuming. It's a pain. I might do one season and stop. Who knows? But right. That's kind of where my head is at right now.
Yeah. I mean, I totally feel you. The whole reason I do this live, yes, this big old flaming train wreck as it is, the whole reason I do it live is fuck editing. I don't have time for that shit. And I just like the idea that it's out there. People can come check it out, enjoy that, enjoy it, as it happens. They can be a part of the flaming train wreck and a part of either making it less of a bonfire or a bigger one, however they want to do it. And, I alone, like one interviewer, it's a lot of stress on your shoulder to kind of carry everything and move the dialogue forward, because a lot of times you are kind of pulling teeth a little bit to get people to talk and bring up their stuff and such. And so having someone else who can pull some teeth. Oh, I'm sure I can come up with it. I absolutely can. I won't say them, but there's names. Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I was like, I'll trade names if you do.
Get this train wreck going. I've only did a handful, so I don't have that many to pull from.
But you've had some solid people on there, dude.
Yeah, I've got some good ones coming up. So, yeah. I mean, if I can plug it a little bit.
Plug.
So the URL, I bought a nice fancy writingcomics.net will get you to the YouTube page. So it's easier than typing and remembering my long name and misspelling Roche. So yeah, it's James E. Roche is the username on YouTube. But yeah, I went to make it easier for folks. I went and got scooped up writingcomics.net. So yeah, I spoke to recently, it's in the pipeline, Gamal Hennessy, who is a lawyer, and I think he put out a book. I forget what it is, but it's pretty much the independent publisher,
the business of independent
creators and making comics. Phenomenal. It was an hour-long conversation. I got a lot of detail or questions that I wanted for myself, and a lot of good entry-level questions that folks have about creating their own contracts and the pitfalls that might come with that. So that's a fantastic one. I'm hoping to get that out at this point, maybe July or early August. I got Dave Cook, who did Killtopia, which is, I think, taking over UK across the pond over there. I think that got picked up for TV development or something. Animation, I think it was. I think he's doing a Kickstarter for issue 3 maybe next month, I believe. So his is probably going to air then. James Hake, CEO, president of Scout Comics, throws a bunch of, how to pitch to them, what they look for in pitches. So there's, it's slowly but surely aggregating good content that I think writers, creators in general are going to dig. So yeah, thanks for allowing me to plug that bad boy.
Dude, I don't have an issue at all. Yeah, no. You do know that once you get to 100 subscribers, you can actually change the URL on the YouTube channel, right?
I saw something. I can't remember. I think it locks you in, though. You can never change the name of the channel after you do that. So I was going back and forth. Yeah, no, that's something to that effect, because I was thinking about either changing the channel, because it's always been my name. But if I want to change the channel to, writing comics or whatever, then I lock in that pretty URL or whatever they want to call it that YouTube will give you, then I can never change it back to my name. So say, 5 years from now, I stop doing the show, I still want my YouTube channel, and I don't want it to be called, writing comics. If I want
you've moved on to something else.
Yeah, if I'm doing, I'm sure it'll be comic related, but if it's just, whatever, who knows what it is? I don't want to be locked in. I don't want the man locking me in.
I feel you, man. No one, don't put baby in a corner.
I'll double check. I'll double check that, but just in case. But thank you for the reminder. Yeah, that they kind of try to make it simple for you.
Right. Steph says, I want to see Chuck cosplay as Belial. Anyone have red body paint? That's a lot of body paint, homie, but I would do it. For you, I would absolutely do it. So again, as we wind down, are there any final tips that you want to throw out there to new creators? Anything maybe that we haven't spoken about today? As someone who is, much like myself, collected a bunch from some absolutely amazing and talented individuals, are there any little tips that you think need to be reminded or kind of pushed in a little bit harder?
I don't know why I giggled at that. I'm a 13-year-old boy.
It's 10 o'clock. We're allowed to say the fuck word. Like, yeah, man, I get it.
I said it a few times, I think, and it always goes around. Start small. That's a good one. I think, learn, develop a tough skin, I guess. Learn to take rejection. Don't be afraid to pitch, and get the rejection. I think sometimes people are afraid to pull the trigger on pitches, or even starting to write. I think people are afraid to because writing comics and creating anything, you're putting yourself out there, but if it's in you that you need to create and do something, then do it. Like, try not to be, maybe it's easier said than done, but try not to be afraid to put yourself out there and dive into a creative endeavor, despite it being thrown out there for all to see. I think develop a tough skin somehow through rejection. I think you learn, when you get these rejections from publishers, they just come, and rejection is good. Learn to welcome the rejection.
Yeah. This is going to be the last one. Brian wanted to do this. One last silly thing. If you could act out as one of your characters, who would you like to act out as?
Act out. I wish I had it's not printed yet. We're doing, it might be that Nocturne County, the detective who's kind of a typical crime noir detective, but he's out of a Dr. Seuss world. So he's drawn all, gangly arms. It's pretty cool. And he drinks whiskey and tries to take down the city's mob. I don't know why he came to me. Maybe because he talks in like rhyming pentameter or something. Maybe that's it.
Which would be so fun, right?
Well, the main character from Wretches has a dope mohawk, so
Oh, dude,
the only way I can get away with that is if I move to space and and act it out in the basement.
All right, well, James, thank you so much for showing up.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to you. I had a great time. Great to finally talk to you.
Absolutely, yeah. We've known each other for a bunch of years now. I think it was the first time we've really been able to sit down and hang out. So that was good.
It is. I'm very antisocial, I think, but doing this, doing the YouTube channel, it's something that I wanted to do. So it helps me get over that anxiety of talking in a public forum.
And if it helps you at all, that YouTube channel is what reminded me. You know what? I really want to talk to James. I feel like he's doing something very similar. Like he and I are doing something similar, and we're both, and that's not in a, like, you're copying me, because that's some bullshit.
Kindred spirits. No, I
Exactly.
feel
It's a
you.
kindred
I'm with
spirit
you.
thing. We both are really interested in gleaning all of this knowledge, and also sharing it with the masses, and seeing what's up out there, and what different ways we could all make this kind of stuff. So I really appreciate it about that. And so even if you can just take that as a bonus, the reason you're here is because I saw that and I went, I love what he's doing, and I I think I got to have him on here and make that happen. So that's a win already, and you get to talk with all those cool people.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words.
No, absolutely, man. So, guys, thank you so much for coming out. I love and appreciate you guys so much. Next week, we're going to have leather worker and creator Harrison Hansen in here. He's done work for, you guys have probably seen him do work for Insymmetry Creations. They're cool dragon masks and all that kind of stuff. Wendy, you want to throw me the keychain right beside your head there? She can't hear me because her headphones are on. Can you throw me the keychain? She's watching, but she's behind a little bit. Thank you. So he created this cool little thing.
Damn.
Yeah, right? It's a keychain, and it's a dragon head. You can kind of sort of make out the eyes there and whatnot. But and then he has this like a full-fledged mask and bracers and gauntlets. Yeah, man, it's so cool. I got to pick one of these up when I was in Florida hanging out with the InSim crew. So he's going to be here next week. He's going to talk all about that and how he's able to take other people's creations, turn them into cool leather goods. And guys, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you coming out. We have so many more good shows to come out. And if you're watching this later on, like, share, all that bullshit. You know how it goes. This isn't your first fucking YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone. Peace, love, and comics. My name is Chuck, and I give a fuck. Take care of yourselves.